Greetings, fellow humans. Welcome to Sam and Max Hit the Books. I'm Max.
I'm Sam.
And we have got the comics that came out on the 22nd of May for you today. The ones we picked up, at least. Let's go ahead and start with the 5th issue of Marvel Comics Presents, which only I read this week. We've got a continuation of the Wolverine story by Charles Soule and Dio Neves, which is pretty cool because this one is where the timeline finally gets up to where Wolverine has joined the X-Men in the 80s. So we get recreations of classic Wolverine panels and like famous things going on in the background.
That's pretty good.
His different suits he's worn, stuff like when he was turning into a brood. As it's going through the 80s, he's wondering like when the truth is going to come back. It comes once per decade, and the 80s are going on and on. Nothing's happened. And so finally in 89, he decides to get a little more proactive and go see Doctor Strange. And Doctor Strange points him in the direction of the family of the girl, but like won't get involved himself because it's a Wolverine story.
Yeah.
And the women, or he goes to meet the people of the clan that the witch who died is from, and they're unhappy to see him, and they say, "Don't worry, your part in all this is over," and they teleport him away. And the story is going to be continued, except for Wolverine caught somebody's scent at the place that upsets him greatly. I assume that it's going to be a kid that he had with the girl who, remember, slept with him and then ditched him 2 issues ago.
Oh, yeah, that could definitely happen.
Because, since she's dead, they aren't going to play something too sinister with the whole she seduced him thing.
Right.
So that has to be what it is. And obviously they've worked out some sort of thing where they've transferred the curse to the child instead of Wolverine or something. We'll see. The next story was a Nightcrawler story by Chris Claremont, famous X-Men writer, drawn by Luke Ross. And
nice. That's rare.
I think you have to have read a lot of Chris Claremont X-Men comics to understand what's going on here, because there's a lot of, we're not in our correct reality, we're not in the right timeline, people recognize other people, Nightcrawler's kind of there, but it's really like several X-Men there, like Rachel Summers, who Chris Claremont loves to use. Nice. It was pretty forgettable to me, but I assume that this might have been like candy for really big Claremont fans.
That's too bad, especially a Nightcrawler story.
Yeah.
Don't get many of those.
And last, we have this Venom story by Leah Williams, drawn by Guillermo Sanna. And I also don't really understand what the hell is happening in this story. It is also fully self-contained. It's mostly a bunch of narration where the symbiote is bothering Eddie because it wants to eat some real brains, and he's just like, no, we're going to eat chocolate. And he keeps walking by people who the symbiote wants to eat, and he doesn't want to let them, and then he goes to the apartment that he's living in and passes out and has a weird dream where the symbiote is having like a weird conversation with him about how he loves evil things. And then at the end, he tells the symbiote, okay, you want to come out and play? And he says, watch the teeth. And I think it might be trying to be a weird Simbrock story, like a relationship thing. Yeah, when people ship them as a couple.
Oh, right.
That's the way I read it. Which this is terrible
makes sense
to me.
with the symbiote appearing as a female, I guess, right here.
Right, exactly.
Weird.
It's highly creepy. I didn't like it. Didn't like it even a little.
All right.
So once again, the Wolverine story is carrying Marvel Comics Presents because everything else they're putting into it is dour, depressing, and weird.
All right. What do you give it?
I forgot to score everything, so I'll just assign an overall score of 6.
All right.
Yeah, because the Wolverine story is a solid 7, and then the other 2 are like 2s or 3s. But the Wolverine story is good. Like, I'm not sorry to still be buying it, you know.
Right, exactly.
But
it's carrying it.
It's not quite worth $5. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I'm reducing my score to a 5.
All right. Next up, we have issue 2 of the Goon, which is pretty good. Pretty funny. You get the backstory of Vinny Nosferatu.
Yep, good backstory.
I mean, he was just some punk who wanted to be a mafia member, and he got sent on a mission to tie a flag on top of a tower of this building where Nosferatu...
haunted castle, yeah.
And Nosferatu sensed the kindred spirit, so made him one, and they immediately killed that one.
Yeah, and he killed Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Because he was so evil that like even becoming a vampire didn't really affect his inner evilness.
Right, now he's just more powerful and evil.
Right. So, yeah, that's Vinny.
Yeah, and the Goon and his buddy are pretty funny in this issue, as they are. I mean, they got their new place.
He keeps clogging the toilet with cream cheese and...
Nudie mags
in the actual toilet.
Right. Well, the toilet keeps getting clogged with nudie mags and cream cheese.
Right.
Nobody will own up to it.
We don't know who's doing it, I guess, technically.
Yeah.
He just tells Goon you have to accept some mysteries in the universe.
Right. Exactly. Pretty funny. Death Cursed guy makes a few appearances.
Yeah.
Everything's got a death curse.
Death curse.
Yeah, so it's pretty fun, and once Vinny Nosferatu gets there and starts fighting Goon. I mean, it only takes a minute for Goon to get back up and start beating the crap out of him.
You know who Goon is like? Goon is basically a mobster version of Brock Samson.
Yeah, that's true.
He can get hurt and can get hit.
Right, he's just going to get back up and then go into Berserker Rage mode.
Right, and really slaughter the hell out of whatever he's actually fighting.
Yeah.
The way he stakes Vinny with a full-on fence post and bisects him.
You just get a background image of him just wailing on him. Ooh, but Vinny escapes into the sewer.
And, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens next time.
Yeah, there's going to be a mummy. Who may be an undead version of the Goon? Maybe? I don't know. I assume that people who have been reading the Goon for years saw the mummy and were like, "Ah, shit, the mummy."
The mummy. Yeah. Anyways, I'd give it an 8. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a 7 for me. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's good, solid. It doesn't try to be more than what it is, and it does what it is very well.
Yeah.
The humor isn't forced.
No. It's just there.
All right, moving on to issue 4 of Star Trek: The Q Conflict, by Scott and David Tipton, drawn by Sylvia Califano. This issue was both good and bad.
Yeah, it had its problems, but there were nice moments.
I'm not convinced that these writers understand really the Prophets, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Prophets were probably the second most out of character this issue after Bashir.
See, I liked that for this problem, they really showed the 4 crews doing very different things. I appreciated the very different ways they all were going to set about solving this problem. But I have questions like, okay, so they go to Deep Space Nine to see the Prophets. What era of Deep Space, did they go to Deep Space Nine in the time that the DS9 crew is from?
It seems so, because we have Jadzia Dax, but they got the Worf from after that.
Right, that Worf is definitely Star Trek Nemesis Worf. Based on the uniforms as well. And I did like that they finally at least gave a line of dialogue to the fact that Worf was seeing Dax all this time.
Right. The uniforms. That's true. Deep Space Nine crew is pre-season 4.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're obviously pre-Worf, since Worf didn't show up. Although, wouldn't it have been great if they had brought both Worfs?
Oh, man, that would be great.
Come on, let's go a little farther here. I'm actually really shocked that Kirk hasn't made some sort of pass at Dax yet. And we know
He
from
totally would.
Right, and we know from Deep Space Nine that Dax would be into it.
Oh, that is so true.
But then, the Prophets show up. And let me say, first of all, the Prophets, by this time, I guess, have obviously gotten really comfortable with the way that time works.
Yeah.
Because normally that's their big thing, is that they're not even about time and now and future. But they're dropping future and past and stuff into the dialogue all the time here.
Quite a lot.
I am interested in the question of whether or not Q or the Prophets are technically more powerful.
Right. Well, it seems like it's omnipotent versus omniscient.
With the prophets having omniscience?
Yeah,
Interesting.
and Q being omnipotent.
Interesting. Yeah. And it is pretty funny to see Q, like, floating in space, having a wizard battle against the wormhole that's now going crazy.
Right, it's sucking in all the ships, and Q is just shooting lightning at it.
Like Raiden.
Yeah.
But, so here's the thing, is, I think we're about to be discovered, or outed, I should say, for our, like, wealth of Star Trek knowledge. Let me ask you this, Sam. Who are these two characters who showed up on the last page?
God, who are these two?
Girl in a purple dress and a guy in something.
Right, with the green.
It looks very familiar, his clothing.
Yeah.
Like it's from one of the later series, but I also very much think that they've got to be an original series thing.
Yeah, because I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know, and there's no way to look it up because we have nothing to reference it as. So I'm sure we'll find out next issue, but I'm sure anybody who's listening who is also reading this book and knows who that is yelling at us. Leave us a comment if you know who those characters are.
Yeah, it was nice seeing the station again.
I did like that we got stuff on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. I did not like Bashir. Bashir didn't seem like the type who'd be all like, "You're really going to go anger the prophets, Captain?"
I mean,
it's a scientist.
This is supposed to be early season Bashir. But I thought that as bad as Bashir's dialogue was, and even Guinan at the beginning, she had this line that to me was really bad because she said, like, that's why each of your crews has been summoned. Where she would definitely say something like, why Starfleet was summoned, or like all of you. But like the way she said each of your crews was such a, like, yep, we got 4 teams because this is a comic book. But man, Odo was pitch perfect. And his like little line of dialogue in the meeting scene where he's like, but they're truly beyond anything I've ever experienced. Like it was perfect.
I don't know if they're aliens. I don't know if they're gods. I just know they're not to be messed with.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
That is true.
But few high points, so this was a straight 5 for me.
Yeah, I'd give it a 5 as well. Not enough Quark, because there was no Quark.
Yeah! Wait, Quark is on one of the teams. Yeah, that's a missed opportunity to go to the station and have no Quark doing anything.
Yeah, they put Quark with Kirk. To me, that they shouldn't have put Quark with Kirk. Kirk with Quark? Who's this thing about putting Kirk with Quark?
You just want to keep saying Kirk and Quark in close with each other.
Oh, I've been outed.
All right, take us to the next one.
All right, we got issue 1004 of Detective Comics. And so this is the backstory of the Arkham Knight.
The very weird backstory.
Which, it begs the question, would Batman bring batarangs into Arkham and throw them willy-nilly?
And not account for them?
That's a deadly weapon right there.
He's throwing batarangs to disarm people. The riot is still happening, so he's still busy. He hasn't had a chance to go around and collect them.
Right. Somebody picks up a batarang. Yeah, it makes it seem like an overall foolish idea to bring blades into the asylum at all.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm with you there.
Yeah, because somebody does pick up one of his batarangs and they throw it and kill the mother of the Arkham Knight after she gives birth.
I really thought it was actually Batman too. At first, I was like, "Oh fuck, Batman! You really
that shot?" Screwed them. Right, but then they pulled back on that.
Yeah,
pretty quickly. Obviously, they don't want you to think that Batman could be capable of making such a mistake as throwing a batarang at Clayface that just went right through him and got the jugular of this pregnant woman who's giving birth.
Yeah, what is this? A Tom
King
comic?
In front of all the villains. But the villains were hilarious. Protecting her from the riots.
It's so weird, but I'm reading it and my brain is saying this shouldn't work. The Joker is too sadistic to be protective like this.
Right,
but
delivering a baby.
In the context of the story, and making it a super villain origin story, and then the way it's contextualized later with her having him read to her at night when she's sneaking around the asylum. Have this concept of a character who was born and raised in the asylum by the inmates of Arkham Asylum.
Yeah,
is I actually am surprised she seems so sane.
Right. And yeah, her doctor father, once she found out that her mother was killed by a batarang, and all their life she's been living in the asylum, and Batman's been coming there all the time and beating people up that she hangs out with. I mean, why doesn't he, no?
He literally says he decided it was easier to let her think Batman had killed her mother, which is crazy.
Right, it's just insane.
But man, Brad Walker's art and the way that it's colored to differentiate,
it's also fleshy.
Yeah, the differentiate the flashbacks from the darkness of what's actually happening is very cool. Yeah, I liked that he's almost switching styles.
That's true. It's all like I said, dark and realistic, and then all the past stuff is a little bit more
it's slightly pastel.
Yeah, it's pastel and also abstract.
Right, with gray parchment backgrounds, we're reading a story, because we kind of are. They're pulling out a roll of parchment that she had documented her life on.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I really continue to enjoy Walker's art on this book, and
it's very good.
Tomasi writes a good Damien.
Tomasi does write. Well, he writes a little dick Damien, that is perfect for Damien.
That's what Damien is, man. He's a little asshole, but he's really good at his job.
Yeah. So I'd give this issue a 7. I thought it was a pretty interesting origin story.
Yeah, that's a 7 for me as well. I really enjoyed this book. Okay, moving on to issue 14 of Venom, part 2 of the War of the Realms tie-in, written by Cullen Bunn, drawn by Ivan Coelho. Cool cover. For starters, Kyle Hotz on that cover. He's always good doing symbiote stuff. And the interior is all action.
It is all action. And it's all a lot of flames and explosions and symbiote going weird. Not symbiote, but almost a symbiote.
Right, Asgardian weapon.
Yeah.
Which requires a specific balance of rage in order to properly control.
Right, not too much rage.
Not too much rage.
But you need enough rage that you can wield it and do stuff with it.
And the use of flashbacks to earlier in the run really does do a good job of integrating this into the overall Venom run, despite it being mostly just a book where Venom is using a big axe to slice up ice giants and shit.
Yeah, elves.
We get some fighting with Jack-o'-lantern, and then, Sam, we get the part where he gets some Dark Souls armor. He pushes the suit through a threshold, and it morphs and evolves. And we're told later that this is what the villainess who gave him the suit wants, is that the more he fights and the more he adapts to the suit, the more it's going to turn him into a Malekith soldier.
Right.
The dope-ass Venom horned armor is fucking awesome.
Super spiky.
I love it. It's wonderful.
It is nice.
I really enjoy it quite a bit. And I like Jack-o'-lantern's giant dragon of fire that he rides with his power-up.
Yeah, really.
So pretty entertaining for a event tie-in, I must say. And now that the whole question of Venom's involvement with the main book has been solved to my satisfaction.
Right, there's 2 Venoms running around.
Right, there's Eddie and there's Venom.
Yeah.
I can discontinue docking points for that.
Oh, yeah.
So I think this book is also a 7.
I would also give it a 7.
Awesome.
Moving on, we got the issue 5 of Martian Manhunter.
Feels like it's been a while.
That is true.
Yeah.
Is it Chris Orlando?
Steve Orlando. Riley Rossmo.
On art.
Speaking of villain origins.
Yeah. So this is your origin of the crazy red Martian that's
Charn.
Yeah, that infected John's brain.
He has an amazing... I love the whole idea of a Martian who was trapped in one body and essentially went zen about it and fully developed his mind instead while trapped in a singular form, which would be torture for a Martian.
And this is what the Martians do to their high felons, is they trap them in this the red Martian body that can't transform or nothing.
Right, and marks them for what they had done.
Yeah, and most of them go mad in that form and tear themselves apart, but Charn, yes.
Charm.
He uses that time to just strengthen his mental powers.
He is a much, much better telepath than John Jones.
Yeah, and that's how he's able to infect John Jones and make him see all the boils on his body from that sickness.
He doesn't actually have the sickness. It was just his fear of the sickness manifesting, thanks to this fucking crazy demon Martian's abilities.
Yeah.
God, Charn looks cool.
It's crazy, and John is scared, and the art is fantastic. It is so weird.
See, I love all the stuff with John and Charn and that stuff, but the stuff with the detective partner is very uninteresting to me.
Yeah, well, that's taken a downward turn since she found out that he was a Martian and stopped talking to him, and now she's just doing her own thing, and she gets this little, like, lesbian romance story in the middle that just does feel out of place in this, where we're getting pages of gruesome transformations and just this crazy wacky art with the color palette with the purples and the reds and the greens, and the rest of it's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, the art is really carrying the story, which at this point to me is moving kind of slowly. I mean, we did have the villain revealed and what he is, but like, man, like, this is moving a little slowly for like what we're learning. I understand that it's kind of more of a character piece.
Well, that's true.
And it's like really trying to get into John and this like new status quo they're trying to set up for the Manhunters and all that.
Right, and we'll find out next time.
So
hopefully how that all came about.
So yeah,
I'd give this one a 7.
This was a 6 for me. The art I really enjoyed, but I'm like, I don't know. Something about it is not quite hitting for me the way the earlier issues did.
I understand that. It is a little slower, but that art is just so good and appropriate.
It is appropriate. Yeah, it's rivaling on a couple pages the good gruesomeness we've been getting in Immortal Hulk.
Yeah, that's true.
So the last book of the week is going to be the 16th issue of The Terrifics, written by Gene Luen Yang, drawn by Steven Segovia. And, speaking of action-packed, this was a pretty cool action-packed issue of The Terrifics doing some fighting, and Offspring actually is still around, so that's cool.
Yeah.
And Plastic Man turns into Optimus Prime in this issue, and gets a lot of bugs in his teeth
with a huge-ass nose. If the front of Optimus Prime was just a nose.
And, they're fighting some biblical plagues, and we find out that Plastic Man, while not really religious, knows a lot about Christianity, and the experience they're going through is like making him feel extra religious right now.
Right, and he gives us that whole little bit about the salt toffee that he used to like. They'd get if he remembered the commandments and other things, but now he can't eat salt toffee because it feels like cannibalism.
Cannibalism. Of course, young Plastic Man liked saltwater taffy enough to learn how to list all the biblical lists.
Oh, yeah.
Then it turns into a gauntlet riff, where they're now inside the game system, and the game has created a dungeon crawl for them. It even says dungeon crawl.
Yes, it does.
And our characters get some weapons and armor.
From some shady merchants.
From some shady flies. And, they want... But it's really all a trick by the system, because it wants to get a T-sphere or cube so that it can access the internet and get out of the closed network it's on.
Right. It keeps saying, let go. And they're like, let go of what? But it really means, like, let me out.
And now the real interesting twist that I want to know about, though, is what's up with the Element characters, and why are, like, demon mouths appearing on them that appear to be afraid of the god computer thing. And
yeah, poor Element dog.
Why is this mouth on the side of me?
And then Element Man, it's out the orange part both times.
I know. Yeah, that's true. That's very interesting. That is the orange one for both of them. That is forming into a mouth that's afraid of the predator. That's what it's defining the system as.
Right.
I thought that it was a pretty entertaining issue of the Terrifics. Not quite still as good as the book was under the previous writer, but
not quite. No.
But it's carrying the load so far, and I'd give this one a 7.
I'd give this one a 6.
All right.
I liked it.
That is the books for the week. Thank you for listening, everybody, and we'll be back with more comic reviews in the very near future.
Blah.